To the April. Hi, and welcome to the April 2023 Cigar Peg Live Virtual Speakers Showcase. I am Carolyn Strauss. I am a professional MC, and I am honored to be your guest host for this event as Ed Rigsby is successfully at home recuperating from hip surgery, and he will be back with you on June 22nd for our next showcase. All of the 5 speakers that you're going to hear today are professional speakers, and they each get 8 minutes for this showcase, and they become nominees for the 2023 Virtual Speakers Hall of Fame. And because you're here, you will get to vote at the end of the year for all of our nominees for the 2023 Virtual Speakers Hall of Fame. Each of these speakers would love to connect with you, so you are encouraged to reach out to them directly. And at the end of today's showcase, you do not want to leave because you are in for a treat. Dale Irvin, the professional summarizer and inaugural member of the Virtual Speakers Hall of Fame, will give us a summary of this entire showcase. You don't want to miss that. So let's get right into it. Our first speaker is Darcy Luoma. Darcy is the CEO of a coaching and consulting firm and one of America's most credentialed and sought-after coaches. She's worked with more than 500 organizations in 48 industries, helping tens of thousands reach peak performance using her thoughtfully fit model outlined in her best-selling same-titled book. Please welcome Darcy Luoma.
In the spring of 2016, I was your typical busy working mom with 2 daughters. Josie was 9 and Jaden was 8. While I wasn't living exactly a fairy tale story, I was able to build a successful business because my husband, John, handled everything on the home front. He was the carpool captain, our family chef, and, well, my personal plumber. He was my best friend. With one phone call, life as I knew it would change forever. Before I get into that call, I just want to ask, who here has had your life change in an instant? Yeah, well, we've all had our sliding door moments in our life stories. And that's what we're going to explore today. I'm going to share a strategy that will help you to handle those challenges thoughtfully so that you can get results instead of regrets. It's 3 simple steps that you can apply immediately when you leave here today. And the cool thing is, it has a ripple effect. Not only will you have better results, but it'll help your team and your organization and your family will benefit too. And the strategy isn't just theoretical. It's what I've been using the last 19 years, coaching thousands. And it was my lifeline at my worst moment. Back to that phone call. It started out as a normal Thursday with my bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios while my husband made breakfast for the girls and got them on the school bus. I met with a client, crushed a chimichanga for lunch, and then headed across town to my event when I noticed my neighbor calling. Oh, that's strange. It's 2:10. She said, "Darcy, what's going on at your house? There are 40 or 50 police cars and a SWAT team with officers, and they just took John out barefoot in handcuffs. I don't know what's going on, but you definitely don't want the girls to see this when they get off the school bus." Oh my God, I hung up and my thoughts were spiraling. A couple of minutes later, the detective called to tell me they were executing a search warrant at my house. Before we hung up, I asked, "Could you tell me what my husband's been arrested for?" Sexual assault of a 15-year-old girl. Oh my God. I was in shock. I was completely blindsided, and everything about my supposed storybook life instantly turned upside down. And I just want to acknowledge right now that for some of you watching, this might be touching a particularly raw and tender nerve. And I want to assure you that I will not be sharing any more details of that crime. I'm just going to be sharing how this strategy helped me in the aftermath of that nightmare. And the reality is that we've all had traumatic moments in our life stories. Maybe your challenging moment hasn't been something like a serious crime, but maybe a spouse filed for divorce or a major project at work failed. Building resilience is about being able to navigate those challenges, big or small, and come out the other side. Because when we're faced with challenges, my research shows that we each have a go-to preference. We each have a default. We fall into one of three modes. We pause, we think, or we act. The key is to do all three in order. These three steps are the strategy and the core of Thoughtfully Fit. They help you to be aware of your thoughts and emotions so you can handle yourself thoughtfully. Now, it sounds simple, right? But it's not always easy. But the core is what helped me when my life became a real live Dateline NBC episode. My husband was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison, the year of our 10-year wedding anniversary. This was not how my life story was supposed to unfold. And I had no shortage of thoughts and intense feelings. But if I'd acted on them all, I'd still be festering in anger with a pile of regrets. No good could come from smashing all his pictures. And as tempting as it was, I had two girls who needed me now more than ever, and a team who was relying on me for their livelihood. I lived in a constant state of holding it all together while simultaneously watching it all fall apart. I was a hot mess. And what helped me was these three steps. They saved me. And they can save you too. Because life presents unexpected obstacles. People die. Bad things happen to good people all the time. So this isn't about eliminating the hurdles. And it's not about eliminating the negative thoughts and emotions. Thoughtfully Fit is about being aware of those thoughts and emotions instead of being controlled by them. Because that is how you get results instead of regrets. So join me in creating a world that's more thoughtfully fit. It starts with you and with me. If you want to build your resilience to be able to handle any of those hurdles thoughtfully, I want to leave you with a workout. I'm going to challenge you to engage your core 3 times today. Pause, think, and act. Because when you train, not only does it help you to handle those challenges thoughtfully, it helps your workplace too. I've seen it, and I've seen organizations transform. But it takes training and practice, just like you can't get abs of steel from doing 20 sit-ups once a month. And I know this strategy works because our family transformed too. When John went to prison, our family dynamic changed significantly, to say the least. And while I didn't choose these circumstances, I did choose to pause and think about the relationship that I wanted to have with my daughters and with my ex-husband. And I'm often asked, how are the girls? Well, when their dad was arrested, their world turned upside down. And I am so happy to say that they are now strong and resilient and sassy teenagers in 9th and 11th grades. And while I would have never wished this on them, I wouldn't wish this on anyone, I have no regrets about the road we walked together. While I'm not living happily ever after yet, instead of someone else writing the ending to my story, I'm the one determined to write it. Who's in charge of writing the next chapter to your story? By training to get thoughtfully fit, you are. It's your story, your journey. You get to write the ending. Happy training.
Darcy, that was amazing. Just a little Behind the scenes, Darcy and I are friends, and I had never actually heard that full story before. And talking about building resilience and engaging your core, I've got both going on right now, my friend. That was amazing. Thank you so much. And now we're going to move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Bill Humbert, recruiterguide.com. Bill is the Google and Bing #1 ranked talent attraction consultant with 40 plus years of professional recruiting and consulting experience, mingled with 26 plus years of professional career coach experience. Bill is uniquely qualified to speak on talent attraction and career search. He's sometimes known as the candidate whisperer. Please welcome Bill Humbert.
Thank you, Carolyn. I speak on a leadership topic that is so painful that few people speak on it, and fewer still are qualified to speak on it. The topic is known as recruiting, talent acquisition, and my personal favorite, talent attraction. Let's take a fresh look at recruiting from a talent attraction perspective. Talent attraction recruiting mirrors the sales process perfectly, line by line, step by step. We'll not go through all 12 steps, just the ones that need immediate attention. What is the first step in the sales process? Determine a need to fill. What is the first step in the recruiting process? Determine if a company needs a new or replacement position filled. What is the second step in the sales process? Create a solution. In recruiting, too often the solution is the lowly job description. This is how important the job description is. The entire balance of the talent attraction process is based on the job description. If the description is on target, you will find the right candidates. If not, well, you know. The third step in sales is sourcing potential clients. Do sales professionals post their openings on the internet and hope some company replies? If so, how long would they remain employed? Isn't that the process that most companies employ for sourcing candidates? They post and pray that the best qualified candidate happens to be looking at their posting right now. Okay, now's a great time to talk about human resource functions. HR has many important functions in a company: benefits, compensation, culture, employee development, employee relations, HR technology. Would you agree that those functions are administrative and compliance by nature? Would an administrator or compliance officer lead their company in sales? Take it one step at a time. Move recruiters' offices out of HR to the areas where the managers sit that they're supporting, just to increase their visibility. Include them in department meetings to better understand the candidates that they seek, and make them part of the manager's team. The fourth step in the sales process is the client needs analysis. In the recruiting process, it is the candidate interview. Managers who have not been trained to effectively interview certainly have never been trained to select the best qualified candidates. Does that make sense? Step 12 is retention, and belongs in both the sales process and the talent attraction process. Think about it. The recruiter is the first person to be in touch with the candidate. If they build a relationship with the candidate, who's now an employee, that person will refer other qualified candidates to you, to the recruiter, and that way you'll be able to recruit them to your company. Additionally, every top talented employee that you retain is one less than you must recruit. Now, can I prove the talent attraction process works? The talent attraction is a process that I initiated with MCI Telecommunications in the fall of 1992, when I was on a recruiting contract with them supporting their new commercial billing system based in Arlington, Virginia. During a meeting with the IT director, he informed me that his 200-member IT team was transitioning to Cedar Rapids. I did not know what state Cedar Rapids was in. Hey, I grew up inside the Capital Beltway in Maryland. I asked 3 HR professionals in MCI's Virginia HR office, and they did not know what state Cedar Rapids was located. This is how I found out, and this is the dictionary I used. Guess what? Cedar Rapids is in Iowa. Well, my immediate thought was, oh, some poor recruiter out in the Midwest, boy, are they going to have problems. And then the director told me I was that recruiter. The director, Brian, told me that the clock starts on January 1st, 1993 and ends on December 31st, 1993. We needed a minimum of 120 IT professionals in the Cedar Rapids office on December 31st, 1993. And MCI was the largest IBM mainframe shop in Cedar Rapids. Most everybody were going to have to be relocated. So I created a recruiting strategy where during the last 2 weeks of every single month, I would take 3 to 4 managers to 2 to 3 cities and interview 18 to 24 candidates daily. We made hiring decisions nightly over dinner. With residential products like Friends and Family and 1-800-COLLECT, MCI was known nationwide, and it was one of those great places to work. Now, there was no internet to post positions. On December 31st, 1993, we counted noses in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We had 143 IT professionals in Cedar Rapids, only 10 employees relocated from Virginia. We relocated 90 of those 133 IT professionals that I recruited with my team of managers and worked around 2 major commercial billing releases in 1993. I embedded myself at the commercial billing IT team. I knew daily what talent was needed and when it was needed. In 20 months together, we recruited 220 IT professionals for Cedar Rapids. Talent attraction is not magic. Recruiting requires both focus and hard work. The transformation to talent attraction produces magical outcomes. Expect success.
Thank you so much, Bill. So I've decided that for the holidays, I'm going to get you a subscription to Google Maps so you know where everything is, but that was very fun. Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Vivian Cobb. Vivian is on a mission to guide her audiences and clients to avoid making illogical and unhealthy financial decisions by helping them gain an understanding of what financial confidence is and why they might not have it. Uncovering our emotional relationship with money so we can have difficult money conversations with our partners is imperative to prevent devastating consequences. As a women's financial confidence advocate, Vivian brings all of her knowledge and storytelling talent to the stage as an international keynote and breakout speaker. Vivian is a 2-time TEDx speaker and an author. I present Vivian Cobb.
I rushed to the bank after he gave me power of attorney. I didn't know much, but I knew he didn't have a will, and I wasn't on any of his bank accounts. I needed to transfer some money in case the unthinkable happened. As I sat there with the bank manager, I watched her open not 1, not 2, but 16 bank accounts. All except one were empty. He had $5,000 in his checking account. How could this be happening? He was a multi-millionaire, a very successful entrepreneur. There must be some mistake. There must be other accounts somewhere. Keep looking. But there wasn't. I went back to the hospital room and I watched my husband dying in his bed. And I didn't say a word. And in the 3 weeks that he had left, he never told me the truth. We never had that conversation. Over the last 11 years, I've had a lot of time to rebuild my financial life and reflect. How did I get myself into that situation? I was a single mother. I took care of my own finances for years. But the minute I married him, I abdicated my financial future. And it was like it was expected, not from him, but from me. And guess what? Women, even young women, still do that today. I talk to them all the time. Why do women abdicate instead of advocate for their financial future? Reason number 1, systemic societal influences. Men work, they make the money, they control the money, right? Yes, for a very long time, that was true. Women, they have the babies, they raise the babies, no time to look at finances, right? Yeah, that was true too. It may interest you to know that in 1974, the year I turned 14, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act gave every woman in America, married or not, the right, yes, the right to open her own bank or credit account. Man didn't have to co-sign anymore, because up to that point, anything financially related, a man did have to co-sign for a woman. HR 5050 came about in 1988. This allowed women business owners to take out their own business loan without a co-signer from a man. Even today, only 27% of women are financial planners and only 14% are stockbrokers. We've made a little progress, but we have a long way to go. And reason number 1 fits very nicely with reason number 2. Emotional relationship with money. When I was in high school, I found numbers confusing. They were definitely not my love language. And I formed opinion of myself. If I can't understand numbers, I must be stupid. And to hide my stupidity, I'll just let somebody else handle it. My husband's story, money meant he was smart. And the more money he had meant he was a genius. It wasn't only his worth, it was his self-worth. It defined him as a success, as a provider, and whether or not he was lovable. Do you see the storm brewing between us? I didn't ask because how would I understand anyway? And he couldn't tell me the truth because I might not love him anymore. That leads us to reason number 3. Fear. Fear runs rampant in everything we think, feel, and do. What if he gets mad at me if I start asking questions? What if What if he gets on the defensive and we end up in a huge fight? Oh my goodness, what if I really can't understand the numbers? Fear stops us from having those hard conversations. Finances can be very tricky because of all the baggage. And like anything sensitive, we have to approach it with care, understanding, and love. Men, encourage your partners to ask questions. Let her see that you want the best for her if anything were to happen to you. And women, I encourage you to find your financial confidence. Advocate for your future. Let him know that you need to know what's going on with the finances. By the end of the decade, there is going to be an unprecedented amount of wealth transferred to women due to inheritance. Yes, we are going to be outliving our baby boomer husbands in record numbers. My husband wasn't a bad guy. He just couldn't face his fear. And I'm not stupid. I didn't stop loving him, even when I found out the truth. Yet, like most women, I needed to advocate for my financial future. I needed to let go of my fear and have the conversation, because quite frankly, the consequences were devastating. You, yes, you need to have that conversation as well.
Excellent job. Vivian, thank you so much. That was incredible. And so I think, remember the Friends episode where the girls were talking about having a backup? Maybe a backup husband is the way to go. Anyway, thank you. Thank you so much. And what amazed me about that is 1988 was the first time women were allowed to get business loans without a cosigner. I mean, wow, we think we've come so far. Let's get really further, really faster. Thank you, Vivian. Okay, so our next speaker is Betty Rhoades. Betty serves people who want to influence positive change by speaking up and speaking out, channeling her deep experience and mission-driven background to help clients with impact leadership, meaningful career development, and authentically confident communication. Betty spent nearly 2 decades serving the public in government and nonprofits. She's hosted, moderated, presented, and trained for such organizations as the Department of Veteran Affairs, the National Association of Home Builders, the George W. Bush Institute, College Promise, the Military Spouse Advocacy Network, and the U.S. House of Representatives Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Is that all? She is also a former podcast host and a very frequent guest. Please welcome Betty Rhoades.
Is there anyone out there who doesn't recognize this superhero? Born on the secluded island of Themyscira, Princess Diana was raised by the warrior Amazons, and she had a deep sense of duty to protect and serve others. When an American soldier crash landed on her shores and told her about all the conflict that was embracing the world, Diana left her paradise home, embraced her role as the legendary Wonder Woman, and became a symbol of hope and a champion for peace. You may not have superhuman strength or the ability to fly or a cool tool like the lasso of truth, But I assure you, you have superpowers. Your superpowers are those skills and abilities that not only add value to others, but come naturally to you. So today we're going to go on a journey to explore our superhero powers, to unlock the hidden talents, understand their potential, and learn how we can use them to shape our lives and the world around us. As we start our superhero adventures, self-awareness is the most important tool that we can leverage. If we reflect on our personal experiences and identify recurring patterns and themes in our past, we can begin to identify what sets us apart. So think about Batman. By adopting the imagery of a bat, he takes a childhood phobia and transforms it into a symbol of power and intimidation. He acknowledges the darkness within himself, stemming from the tragic loss of his parents, and he uses this emotional pain as a driving force to fight crime and seek justice. Vulnerability, also a powerful tool in assessing your superpowers. Think about the times in your life when things didn't go according to plan, or when you had to adapt to a new challenge. Peter Parker's Spider-Man is a fantastic example of a vulnerable superhero. He grapples with balancing his teenage responsibilities and his crime-fighting duties. He's also vulnerable as he navigates romantic relationships, and we've all been teenagers, so we know how that goes. He's open with his heartbreak, the death of his Uncle Ben serving as a constant reminder that with great power comes great responsibility. It's also valuable to seek outside feedback when you're exploring your superpowers. Dr. Strange, a world-renowned neurosurgeon turned sorcerer supreme, he embarks on a quest for knowledge and healing, actively seeking feedback from the Ancient One, as well as other experienced sorcerers to grow and refine his skills. His openness to mentorship not only accelerates his development as a sorcerer, but also fosters personal emotional growth. So drawing inspiration from these superhero stories, we can begin to dive into a three-step process to discover your own personal superpowers. It's powering up your potential. And the first step of powering up your potential is using the skills we just discussed. Reflect on past achievements and personal interests. Be open and vulnerable. Seek feedback to identify key qualities that make you stand out. So now let's turn to some real-life superheroes. Oprah Winfrey's superpower certainly lies in her ability to connect with people and inspire them through storytelling. It came from her traumatic early life. Those experiences fostered a deep sense of compassion, allowing her to connect with others on an emotional level. And she honed her storytelling skills as she found solace and healing through sharing her own experiences and listening to the stories of others. The second step of powering up your potential involves combining those elements that you discovered in step one and defining your most distinctive attribute. During his time in prison, Nelson Mandela was able to synthesize his resilience, patience, and unwavering commitment to justice to forge his superpower, the ability to inspire hope and forgiveness during adversity. If you wanted to marvelize that, if you will, we could say that Mandela is the resilient beacon. So maybe you're the person who listens quietly and then succinctly summarizes the big idea of the conversation. Your superpower is intuitive synthesis. Maybe you have strong communication skills and a passion for social justice. You are the empowering advocate. Or maybe you're the one who picks up on what no one is saying out loud, but everyone is thinking and feeling. Your superpower is empathic perception. Getting the hang of it? The third and final step of powering up your potential involves validating and refining your superpower by putting it into practice, real-world application. Align your superpower with your personal and professional goals. One method I like is to create a personal mission statement that encapsulates your superpower and the goals that you have set for yourself. That mission statement can then serve as a guiding principle, a reminder when making decisions in both your personal and professional life, ensuring that you stay aligned with your superpower as well as the impact that you want to make. Choose projects, assignments, and opportunities that allow you to showcase your superpower. Prioritize professional development that will complement and enhance it. And don't forget, your superpower is not just for when you're at work. Embracing your superpower into all aspects of your daily life can help you build and maintain healthy, thriving communities wherever your superhero adventures might take you. To harness the full potential of your superpower for the long term, it's essential to be persistent and resilient. In Black Panther, T'Challa visits the ancestral plane and meets with his father, where he's confronted with his past mistakes and doubts about being a worthy king. However, instead of becoming defensive or resistant, he listens to his father's guidance and gains new insights about his role as a leader. He realizes that he must challenge the traditional ways of Wakanda and create a better future for his people, embracing a new vision for how he and they will interact with the world. That is the power of persistence and resilience in action. The discovery and utilization of your superpower can create a positive ripple effect that influences those around you. When you embrace your unique abilities and apply them with intention, you inspire others to recognize and develop their own superpowers. This collective awakening of talents leads to a network of empowered individuals who together can tackle challenges, drive change, and create a more positive and harmonious world. Much like the Avengers, each of us has a distinctive individual role to play, but when we unite our superpowers, we become an unstoppable force for good. But just like fictional superheroes, we may encounter villains along our journey. They may take the form of external challenges, negative influences, or even your own self-doubt and limiting beliefs. They can be people who stand in the way of you and your mission. They'll try to hold you back from achieving your goals. But facing those obstacles is an integral part of everyone's superhero story. And it's through that struggle that we truly grow, learn, and become stronger in our pursuit of greatness. Wonder Woman said, "It's not about what you deserve, it's about what you believe." As you embrace your personal superpower, remember that it's not just about discovering what sets you apart, but also believing in your unique gifts truly and deeply as a force for positive change in the world. I don't know about you, but a world of everyday superheroes seems pretty incredible to me. So let's get out there and build it.
Betty, that was so much fun. Thank you. I love the idea of each of us being a superhero and using our superpower. And I'm with you. And I think what we should do, you and I, is we should create a line of magical jewelry, because it was the bracelets that really got me with Wonder Woman. Fantastic job. Thanks, Betty. Coming up next, our next speaker, Aussie-born Kathryn Orford, is a human behavior and human potential expert. She is a highly sought after mindset, resilience, and leadership speaker who specializes in working with corporate and business teams, athletes, and young emerging leaders. If you're a leader and struggling to re-engage, reconnect, and revitalize your team in this post-pandemic climate, or if you want to accelerate your leadership skills, pay extra attention to our next speaker, Kathryn Orford.
I say that I speak about mindset because that's a term that everyone's familiar with, right? But mindset implies that our mind is set like a little piece of concrete. The Oxford Dictionary says the meaning of the word mindset is a specific emotion or inclination and a fixed state of mind. So what I want to talk to you about today instead is how to create a mind shift. Perception is everything. Think about it. How we perceive a situation causes us to feel an emotion. Now that emotion will cause us to do a behavior, and that behavior will produce a result. So when we change our perception of a situation, guess what? it can change our total direction. As the late and great Wayne Dyer said, when we change the way that we look at things, the things we look at change. So is it time for a mind shift with you? You know, several decades ago, I had an incident occur in my life that I really had to create a total mind shift, but not before I had learned some really painful lessons. You see, I had this really successful School of Performing Arts. I had a great team of teachers. I had a great group of friends. To make it even better, I thought I had met the man of my dreams. Well, to say that he was my biggest nightmare, that'd be a gross understatement. Picture this. He tells me that he's just living under the same roof as his ex. He's dating me. She doesn't know about me. And he's going off and having voice lessons with this one. None of us know that he's seeing all three of us. He dumps me. He goes on to marry her 3 months after he dumped me. And guess what? To make matters worse, we were all in the same personal and professional development circles. So there they were, the happily married couple in my face. What did I do? I put on my Superwoman cape and I pretended that I was okay. I was far from okay. And after about 9 months, I just couldn't sustain the act. I fell into the deepest, darkest hole of depression. I was having anxiety attacks. I didn't want to get out of bed, let alone go and teach my classes at the studio. My previous rose-colored glasses had been replaced by these murky gray ones, and all I could see was what was wrong in the world. And to make matters worse, when I turned on music, I just felt numb. So I said to myself, well, if this is life, I really don't want to be here. Now, thankfully, I'm here to tell a story, and I'm here because 2 of my beautiful students' mums, they were there for me in my darkest hour. And as I say, the rest is history. But back then, my inner critic was having a field day, chastising me and telling me I was so pathetic, I couldn't even organize my own suicide properly. When I chose life, I vowed that I would never allow anyone to rob me of my self-esteem or my self-worth ever again. And I immerse myself in learning what is human behavior and human potential, and how can I be the best woman that I can be and not allow anyone to take any of my self-esteem away from me ever again. And it all started by me telling myself a brand new story. So I ask you, what stories are you telling yourself about your ability as a leader today? Let's face it, what worked leading a team, say 3 or 4 years ago, is not going to have anywhere near as well as a great result today. As Bill George says in his book, Authentic Leadership, leadership is a journey, not a destination. So you're being called on right now. Your team are relying on you to help them rebuild their lives, and not just their work lives, every aspect of their lives. You're being called on to add new tools to your toolkit and to become a transformational leader. What does that look like for you? Well, you know what? No matter how well you think you know your team, you probably don't know them as well as they would like you to. It's about getting to know every member of your team, not just the role that they play in the workplace, but as a human being. Do you know what keeps them up at night? Do you know what their biggest fears are? Do you know the names of their partners, their children, their pets? Do you know what hobbies they have? Do you know what they aspire to achieving in your organization? And would they prefer to still be at home, or do they want to be back in the workforce? I promise you, if you start to get to know the members of your team on a far deeper level, you are going to see their performance and their productivity absolutely skyrocket. And you're going to be well on your way to rebuilding your team speaking of rebuilding, I believe that the Japanese art of kintsugi has a lot of answers for us in rebuilding our lives in this post-pandemic climate. You see, the Japanese art of kintsugi, kint meaning gold in Japanese and sugi meaning repair, when they have a piece of pottery that smashes and breaks, they don't toss it in the trash. They actually use lacquer and they choose either gold, silver, or platinum to actually mend it and put it back together again. In fact, this is the sort of thing that they can create. So I ask you, how are you going to build your team? How are you going to rebuild them? How are you going to bond them back together again? I've had decades, probably more decades than I'd like to say, but of actually creating and leading really successful teams in several industries, in the catering industry, performing arts industry, and personal and professional development industry. And I would love the opportunity to come and help you rebuild, reconnect, re-engage, and revitalize your team, because guess what? The future of your team's lives, well, they're in your hands.
Thank you, Kathryn. Thank you so much. I was thinking about what you said about leadership and how it is different now than it was 3 years ago, and it totally is. So thank you for your expertise and sharing that. We appreciate it. And now, as I mentioned at the start of this showcase, we are in for a treat. We now get to experience the world's only professional summarizer, Dale Irvin. Not only is Dale already a member of the Virtual Speakers Hall of Fame, he's also a member of the Speakers Hall of Fame, and he's my partner on our very funny podcast, Another Day Above Ground, which is entering its 4th year. If you're a meeting professional looking to plan a memorable and impactful event, you want to bring Dale in to summarize your meeting. And now for a taste of the Dale Irvin experience, here's Dale.
Thank you guys for sticking around here. I can tell we pretty much still have a standing room only audience. So thank you very much for holding up. As Carolyn mentioned, I am a professional summarizer by trade. Sometimes I get paid cash, but a lot of times it's by trade. And what I do is I sit through meetings, I listen to all of the speakers, I attend all of the events, and then periodically I will deliver a summary in the form of a comedy monologue that I've just written. Now, today, with all of the really happy stories people told, it was a bit of a challenge to turn it into a monologue, but here's what we have. We started with hearing from Darcy Luoma, and Darcy is the most credentialed coach, which that means she has more credentials than anybody else. So, consider that. And then she said, when was the last time that your life changed in an instant? And I think for me, it was the day I turned 65 years old, because then the government starts to send you money for free. I mean, granted, it's your money, but they start sending it to you. It's really a very nice thing. And then she told her story about getting a phone call. The police were around her house. Her husband was taken out of the house in handcuffs. SWAT teams were there. It was like if cops showed up at your front door. It was a happy story. And her three points in order to cope with situations like this is to pause, think, and act. And I go through those points every night at about 3 a.m. I wake up and I pause and why am I up? And then I think, perhaps I have to go to the washroom, and then I act. And so it's a beautiful thing. Then she said, engage your core 3 times a day. I've already had 1 apple today, but I can fit in 2 more if that's what it's going to take. And today she said her kids happily are sassy teenagers, which I believe is redundant. Then then we heard from Bill Humbert, the recruiter guy, who said the recruiting process is a lot like the sales process. First, you have to determine the need. Then you have to create the solution. And then you ask for the down payment. I believe that's how it goes. And most recruiters, she said, move your recruiters out of HR, move them out of there into really nice offices that will impress possible new hires. So, and then the most surprising thing about Bill is he had no idea where Cedar Rapids was. So if you're having a convention in a small town, send him a map. Otherwise, he may not show up. Cedar Rapids and but just for just so you know, Chicago, where I live, we're in Illinois currently, and the S is silent on Illinois, you know, like the P in bed. And anyhow, that was what Bill had for the recruiter guy. Then we heard from Vivian Cobb, who is a 2-time TEDx speaker, and I'll be honest with you, I do not know who TEDx is. I'm assuming he's related to Malcolm X, who himself was a very good speaker. And then she had another fun story, you know, for us about her husband passed away and her money was all gone. So her solutions to that's how women should take more more power over the situation is, first of all, systemic social influences. Men make the money and women make the babies, although today it's possible for men to make the babies and women are CEOs. So everything changes. And then he said, emotional relationship. You have emotional relationship with money. Her husband wanted to make more money because people thought he was smart. Yeah. That's why Einstein was a billionaire. And then fear was a very thing. You know, she said finances can be very tricky, and it couldn't be more right on there. Finances are very tricky. You have to pick the exact 5 numbers in the multi-million PowerPoint lottery in order to win the money. So it's very tricky to pick those. And finally, my wife handles all of our finances because what the hell, she's going to outlive me anyhow, and it means less work for me. So no fear, more beer. That's how that works. All right, we're going now with Betty Rhoades, who was. She started out with a picture of Wonder Woman on the screen and said her name was Diana. So Wonder Woman apparently was a made-up name. You know, how Hollywood is that? And then she talked about Batman. He took his childhood phobia and turned it into a crime-fighting tool. If that was me, I would be Broccoli Man, you know, because I didn't like that at all. And then she said how to power up your potential. That's what you have to do, power up your potential. I would suggest first thing, learn how to fly. That's a very good thing. And number 2, become bulletproof. Those 2 things will help you a lot.
Good job.
And define your best attribute like your superpower. Well, my best attribute is I listen and I concise in a concise way. I believe I am summarizer man. So I don't know exactly how to dress like that. It's probably something brief. All right. Finally, we heard from Kathryn Orford, who started her program. You know, at the beginning, it looked kind of like a game of Pong because her head was bouncing around the screen for a while. I didn't know where that was going. And she wanted to talk about how to create a mind shift. Now, with her accent, I had to listen to that twice. SHIFT is what we're going for. And then she had another happy story about a guy who turned out to be another lion sack. And she put on her Superman cape and called a hitman. So that was a wise thing there. Good way to solve that problem. And she said, as a leader, you will be, according to the graphics, you'll have greenery growing out of your book. And you show that to all of the people that work for you. Ooh, they'll be very impressed, you know. And then finally, she talked about the Japanese art. And again, I didn't understand. I'm assuming it was the Japanese art of origami, where after you make something, you tear up the paper and then put it all back together with tape and glue. And that, my friends, is a summary of what you have just learned. Now, whoops, it's over here. No, it's over here. If you would like to contact me, go to dale@daleirvin.com and you can sign up for the Friday Funnies. First of all, it's free. And every Friday in your email, I will give you a recap, a summary of the weirdest 3 stories in the week's news. It's a lot of fun. Pass it along. Thank you very much for listening. And yes, I would like to work for you.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you so much. You always make me laugh. That's why it's my honor to be partners with you on our podcast. Anyway, I want to thank all of you for being with us today. And so for our association executives and meeting professionals who took your time to be with us today, we so appreciate you, are excited to have you vote for one of our speakers for entrance into the Virtual Speakers Hall of Fame. And feel free to contact any of our speakers today because they would all love to work for you and, take my advice, hire Dale. Ed will be back with you in June, on June 22nd for the next showcase. And for now, I'm Carolyn Strauss. Go find something that makes you smile today. Cheers.